Okay, kids, here we go. Today, I'm going to teach you how to not be a dumb animal. Now, what I'm about to tell you is one of those once you see it, you can't unsee it kind of things. So if you already have a low estimation of humanity, this might actually kind of make it worse. And so I'm sorry, but we got to do this. Once upon a time, there was a man named P.D. Ouspensky, and he wrote about how every human being during periods of their life behave unconsciously, like without self-reflection. But he didn't mean that they just sort of sit and do nothing. They follow some pretty basic rules. You can call them instincts if you want. I kind of think of them as the basic animal game mechanics. And I'm about to teach you the basic animal game mechanics. These are things that all the critters in the forest do all the time, and unfortunately, so do most human beings. And once you see this, once I tell you this, you're going to see it everywhere, and it's going to make you sad. So here we go. First, some initial definitions. Animals experience reality as territory. Okay, so everything's about territory to animals. What separates humans from the critters in the forest is all of the things in the human mind also count as territory. For instance, think of your favorite color. That's territory. Your favorite song, your favorite movie, your favorite food, anything you really like is your territory. And anything that other people do that you like or don't like is their territory, or for our terms, we'll call it adjacent territory. So here's how this works. For animals and unconscious humans, whatever, for any reason whatsoever, right or wrong, inaccurate or accurate, whatever territory an animal thinks that they can defend, they will defend by any means at their disposal. Tooth, claw, internet flame wars, whatever, they'll defend it if they think they can get away with defending it. That's for their own territory. As for adjacent territories, whatever adjacent territory an animal thinks that they can conquer, they will attack it. So someone else's opinion, or the acorn stash of the squirrel one tree over, however you want to think of it. If an animal thinks that an adjacent territory can be attacked successfully, they will attack. Now, if in the moment of that attack, in the heat of battle, so to speak, if they find that they were incorrect, and that they cannot in fact successfully attack this territory, they will retreat from it back to the territory that they are certain they can defend. It's a basic attack-retreat mechanic into adjacent territories from and back to a position of defense. Now lastly, if they are in a situation where they don't see a territory they can defend, or a territory they can attack, or they find if they're in a territory and they get attacked they can't retreat from it, they will evade all of the territories in their perception. They will just not engage at all and seek to hide or just get away from it in some point or another. It's kind of like retreat, but it's not retreating from a position of attack. It's more of a retreat from a position of not wanting to be involved at all. And that's basically it. Now, here's another thing though. What happens if they find themselves in a territory that they cannot defend, cannot attack away from, cannot retreat away from, and cannot evade? Well, they fall into a state of learned helplessness. That's kind of when they just roll over, cease to act, and accept whatever terrible thing happens to them. That was done by B.F. Skinner to dogs, where he drove them into a state of learned helplessness and put them on an electric grate they couldn't escape, and they would just lay there and whimper and accept the shocks. In the Abu Ghraib detention facility, the military discovered that they could do that also with humans. So this is something common to animals and humans. They could be put into this state of learned helplessness. And frankly, there's a lot of humans who live in that state in basements all across America as I speak. Now this sounds pretty grim, and it is, and you're going to see it everywhere, where you see large swaths of society that simply automatically defend what they can, attack what they can, retreat when they can't successfully attack it, and avoid topics that they don't want to deal with. This is the majority of humans, the majority of times. However, there are a few ways to escape these animal game mechanics that have been discovered. The first one is to die. Just get out of the game entirely, put yourself in the judgment line, and prepare for your eternal destiny. It's probably the most common way people escape this. Another way was discovered by Buddhists and Zen masters, and that's to sit and meditate. You shut your thoughts off, and therefore the internal territory is no longer stimulating you to go through any of the animal game mechanics. For regular critters in the forest type animals, I don't know if they're capable of this, but humans are, and it works pretty well. The other way, and this is the one I'm obviously going to prefer here, is to turn over your territorial instinct to God, seek engaging in it at all, and let the Holy Spirit determine your behavioral mechanics. Now, will you still be doing things like defense, attack, retreat, and evasion? Sure you will, but it won't be because of stimulus from the outside environment determining for you which one of those mechanics you engage in. It'll actually seem kind of weird to outsiders, and it would probably seem weird to you at the time too. That one's kind of hard to explain from a position of explaining it to people who don't engage in it. If you want to experience this, just turn your life over to God, say you can't do it right without screwing it up, and ask Him to do it for you. That's my suggestion. And that's basically it. It's sewn up. So you're going to be looking at a world now where everyone acts like animals, engaged in all of these little territorial games. Most of it's boring, most of it's stupid, most of it's deadly, and most of it on the internet should just be shut off and ignored. And then you'll occasionally run into people who meditate out of the mechanics. You'll occasionally run into people who have died out of these mechanics. And you'll occasionally run into people who follow the Holy Spirit around doing what looks like nonsense versions of these mechanics. So there you have it, how not to be a dumb animal. Die, meditate, or follow God. In honor of this one, we're going to read about my favorite person in the Bible. Well, one of my favorite people in the Bible. Definitely top 5. A man named Gideon. Judges 6. Then the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord. So the Lord delivered them into the hands of Midian for 7 years. And the hand of Midian prevailed against Israel. Because of the Midianites, the children of Israel made for themselves the dens, the caves, and the strongholds which are in the mountains. So it was, whenever Israel had sown, Midianites would come up. Also Amalekites and the people of the east would come up against them. Then they would encamp against them and destroy the produce of the earth as far as Gaza, and leave no sustenance for Israel, neither sheep nor ox nor donkey. For they would come up with their livestock and their tents, coming in as numerous as locusts. Both they and their camels were without number, and they would enter the land to destroy it. So Israel was greatly impoverished because of the Midianites, and the children of Israel cried out to the Lord. And it came to pass, when the children of Israel cried out to the Lord because of the Midianites, that the Lord sent a prophet to the children of Israel, who said to them, Thus says the Lord God of Israel, I brought you up from Egypt, and brought you out of the house of bondage, and I delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians, and out of the hand of all who oppressed you, and drove them out before you, and gave you their land. Also I said to you, I am the Lord your God. Do not fear the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you dwell, but you have not obeyed my voice. Now the angel of the Lord came and sat under the terebinth tree, which was in Ophrah, which belonged to Joash the Abiezrite, while his son Gideon threshed wheat in the winepress in order to hide it from the Midianites. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him, and said to him, The Lord is with you, you mighty man of valor. Gideon said to him, O my Lord, if the Lord is with us, why then has all this happened to us? And where are all his miracles, which our fathers told us about, saying, Did not the Lord bring us up from Egypt? But now the Lord has forsaken us, and delivered us into the hands of the Midianites. Then the Lord turned to him and said, Go in this might of yours, and you shall save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. Have I not sent you? So he said to him, O my Lord, how can I save Israel? Indeed, my clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my father's house. And the Lord said to him, Surely I will be with you, and you shall defeat the Midianites as one man. Then he said to him, If now I have found favor in your sight, then show me a sign that it is you who talk with me. Do not depart from here, I pray, until I come to you and bring out my offering and set it before you. And he said, I will wait until you come back. So Gideon went in and prepared a young goat and unleavened bread from an ephah of flour. The meat he put in a basket, and he put the broth in a pot, and he brought them out to him under the terebinth tree and presented them. The angel of God said to him, Take the meat and the unleavened bread and lay them on this rock, and pour out the broth. And he did so. Then the angel of the Lord put out the end of the staff that was in his hand, and touched the meat and the unleavened bread, and fire rose out of the rock and consumed the meat and the unleavened bread, and the angel of the Lord departed out of his sight. Now Gideon perceived that he was the angel of the Lord, so Gideon said, Alas, O Lord God, for I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face. Then the Lord said to him, Peace be with you, do not fear, you shall not die. So Gideon built an altar there to the Lord, and called it, The Lord is Peace. To this day it is still in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. Now it came to pass the same night that the Lord said to him, Take your father's young bull, the second bull of 7 years old, and tear down the altar of Baal that your father has, and cut down the wooden image image that is beside it. Build an altar to the Lord your God on top of this rock in the proper arrangement, and take the second bull and offer a burnt sacrifice with the wood of the image which you shall cut down. So Gideon took 10 men from among his servants and did as the Lord had said to him. But because he feared his father's household and the men of the city too much to do it by day, he did it by night. And when the men of the city arose early in the morning, there was the altar of Baal torn down, and the wooden image that was beside it was cut down, and the second bull was being offered on the altar which had been built. So they said to one another, Who has done this thing? And when they had inquired and asked, they said, Gideon the son of Joash has done this thing. Then the men of the city said to Joash, Bring out your son, that he may die, because he has taken down the altar of Baal, and because he has cut down the wooden image that was beside it. But Joash said to all who stood against him, Would you plead for Baal? Would you save him? Let the one who would plead for him be put to death by morning. If he is a god, let him plead for himself, because his altar has been torn down. Therefore on that day he called him Jerubbaal, saying, Let Baal plead against him, because he has torn down his altar. Then all the Midianites and Amalekites, the people of the east, gathered together, and they crossed over and encamped in the valley of Jezreel. But the Spirit of the Lord came upon Gideon. Then he blew the trumpet, and the Abiezrites gathered around him, and he sent messengers throughout all Manasseh, who also gathered behind him. He also sent messengers to Asher, Zebulun, and Naphtali, and they came up to meet them. So Gideon said to God, If you will save Israel by my hand, as you have said, look, I shall put a fleece of wool on the threshing floor. If there is dew on the fleece only, and it is dry on all the ground, then I shall know that you will save Israel by my hand, as you have said. And it was so. When he rose early the next morning and squeezed the fleece together, he wrung out the dew out of the fleece, a bowl full of water. Then Gideon said to God, Do not be angry with me, but let me speak just once more. Let me test, I pray, just once more with the fleece. Let it now be dry only on the fleece, but on all the ground let there be dew. And God did so that night. It was dry on the fleece only, but there was dew on all the ground. Then Jerubbaal, that is Gideon, and all the people who were with him, rose early and encamped beside the well of Harod, so that the camp of the Midianites was on the north side of them by the hill of Moreh in the valley. And the Lord said to Gideon, The people who are with you are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hands, lest Israel claim glory for itself against me, saying, My own hand has saved me. Now therefore proclaim in the hearing of the people, saying, Whoever is fearful and afraid, let him turn and depart at once from Mount Gilead. And 22,000 of the people returned, and 10,000 remained. But the Lord said to Gideon, The people are still too many. Bring them down to the water, and I will test them for you there. Then it will be that of whom I say to you, This one shall go with you, the same shall go with you. And whomever I say to you, This one shall not go with you, the same shall not go. So he brought the people down to the water. And the Lord said to Gideon, Everyone who laps from the water with his tongue as a dog laps, you shall set apart by himself. Likewise, everyone who gets down on his knees to drink, and the number of those who lapped, putting their hand to their mouth, was 300 men. But all the rest of the people got down on their knees to drink water. Then the Lord said to Gideon, By the 300 men who lapped I will save you, and deliver the Midianites into your hand. Let the other people go, every man to his place. So the people took provisions, and their trumpets in their hands, and he sent away all the rest of Israel, every man to his tent, and retained those 300 men. Now the camp of Midian was below him in the valley. It happened on the same night that the Lord said to him, Arise, go down against the camp, for I have delivered it into your hand. But if you are afraid to go down to the camp with Purah your servant, and you shall hear what they say, and afterward your hands shall be strengthened to go down against the camp. Then he went down with Purah his servant to the outpost of the armed men who were in the camp. Now the Midianites and Amalekites, all the people of the east, were lying in the valley as numerous as locusts, and their camels were without number, as the sand by the seashore in multitude. And when Gideon had come, there was a man telling a dream to his companion. He said, I have had a dream. To my surprise, a loaf of barley bread tumbled into the camp of Midian. It came to a tent and struck it so that it fell and overturned, and the tent collapsed. Then his companion answered and said, This is nothing else but the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash, a man of Israel. Into his hand God has delivered Midian and the whole camp. And so it was, when Gideon heard the telling of the dream and its interpretation, that he worshipped. He returned to the camp of Israel and said, Arise, for the Lord has delivered the camp of Midian into your hand. Then he divided the 300 men into 3 companies, and he put a trumpet into every man's hand, with empty pitchers and torches inside the pitchers. And he said to them, Look at me and do likewise. Watch, and when I come to the edge of the camp, you shall do as I do. When I blow the trumpet, I and all who are with me, then you also blow the trumpets on every side of the whole camp, and say, The sword of the Lord and of Gideon. So Gideon and the 100 men who were with him came to the outpost of the camp at at the beginning of the middle watch, just as they had posted the watch, and they blew the trumpets and broke the pitchers that were in their hands. Then the 3 companies blew the trumpets and broke the pitchers. They held the torches in their left hands, and the trumpets in their right hands for blowing. And they cried, "The sword of the Lord and of Gideon!" And every man stood in his place all around the camp. And the whole army ran and cried out and fled. When the 300 blew the trumpets, the Lord set every man's sword against his companion throughout the whole camp, and the army fled to Beth Acacia, towards Zerera, as far as the border of Abel Maholah by Tabith. And the men of Israel gathered together from Naphtali, Asher, and all Manasseh, and pursued the Midianites. Then Gideon sent messengers throughout all the mountains of Ephraim, saying, "Come down against the Midianites, and seize from them the watering places as far as Beth-barah and the Jordan." Then all the men of Ephraim gathered together, and seized the watering places as far as Beth-barah and the Jordan. And they captured 2 princes of the Midianites, Oreb and Zeb. They killed Oreb at the rock of Oreb, and Zeb they killed at the winepress of Zeb. They pursued Midian, and brought the heads of Oreb and Zeb to Gideon on the other side of the Jordan. Now the men of Ephraim said to him, "Why have you done this to us by not calling us when you went to fight with the Midianites?" And they reprimanded him sharply. So he said to them, "What have I done now in comparison with you? Is not the gleaming of the grapes of Ephraim better than the vintage of Abiezer? God has delivered into your hands the princes of Midian, Oreb and Zeb. And what was I able to do in comparison with you?" Then their anger toward him subsided when he said that. When Gideon came to the Jordan, he and the 300 men who were with him crossed over exhausted, but still in pursuit. Then he said to the men of Succoth, "Please give loaves of bread to the people who follow me, for they are exhausted, and I am pursuing Zebah and Zalmunna, kings of Midian." And the leaders of Succoth said, "Are the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna now in your hand, that we should give bread to your army?" So Gideon said, "For this cause, when the Lord has delivered Zebah and Zalmunna into my hand, then I will tear your flesh with the thorns of the wilderness and with briars." And he went up from there to Penuel, spoke to them in the same way, and the men of Penuel answered him as the men of Succoth had answered. So he also spoke to the men of Penuel, saying, "When I come back in peace, I will tear down this tower." Now Zebah and Zalmunna were at Karkor, and their armies with them, about 15,000, all who were left, all the army of the people of the east. For 120,000 men who drew the sword had fallen. Then Gideon went up by the road of those who dwell in tents on the east of Nobah and Jogbehah, and he attacked the army while the camp felt secure. When Zebah and Zalmunna fled, he pursued them, and he took 2 kings of Midian, Zebah and Zalmunna, and routed the whole army. Then Gideon the son of Joash returned from battle, from the ascent of Heres. Then he caught a young man of the men of Succoth, and interrogated him, and he wrote down for him the leaders of Succoth and its elders, 77 men. Then he came to the men of Succoth and said, "Here are Zebah and Zalmunna, about whom you ridiculed me, saying, 'Are the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna now in your hand, that we should give bread to your weary men?' And he took the elders of the city, and thorns of the wilderness, and briars, and with them he taught the men of Succoth. Then he tore down the tower of Penuel, and killed the men of the city. And he said to Zebah and Zalmunna, 'What kind of men were they whom you killed at Tabor?' So they answered, 'As you are, so were they. Each one resembled the son of a king.' Then he said, 'They were my brothers, the sons of my mother. As the Lord lives, if you had let them live, I would not kill you.' And he said to Jether his firstborn, 'Rise, kill them.' But the youth would not draw his sword, for he was afraid, because he was still a youth. So Zebah and Zalmunna said, 'Rise yourself and kill us, for as a man is, so is his strength.' So Gideon arose and killed Zebah and Zalmunna, and took the crescent ornaments that were on their camels' necks. Then the men of Israel said to Gideon, 'Rule over us, both you and your son, and your grandson also, for you have delivered us from the hand of Midian.' But Gideon said to them, 'I will not rule over you, nor shall my son rule over you. The Lord shall rule over you.' Then Gideon said to them, 'I would like to make a request of you, that each of you would give me the earrings from his plunder.' For they had golden earrings, because they were Ishmaelites. So they answered, 'We will gladly give them.' And they spread out a garment, and each man threw into it the earrings from his plunder. Now the weight of the gold earrings that he requested was 1,700 shekels of gold, besides the crescent ornaments, pendants, and purple robes, which were on the kings of Midian, and besides the chains that were around their camels' necks. Then Gideon made it into an ephod, and set it up in his city, Ophrah. And all Israel played the harlot with it there. It became a snare to Gideon and to his house. Thus Midian was subdued before the children of Israel, so that they lifted their heads no more. And the country was quiet for 40 years in the days of Gideon. Then Jerubbaal, the son of Joash, went and dwelt in his own house. Gideon had 70 sons who were his own offspring, for he had many wives. And his concubine, who was in Shechem, also bore him a son, whose name he called Abimelech. Now Gideon, the son of Joash, died, at a good old age and was buried in the tomb of Joash his father, in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. So it was, as soon as Gideon was dead, that the children of Israel again played the harlot with the Baals, and made Baal-berith their god. Thus the children of Israel did not remember the Lord their God, who had delivered them from the hands of all their enemies on every side. Nor did they show kindness to the house of Jerubbaal in accordance with the good he had done for Israel. And that is the story of Gideon, who was really weird about following the Lord, and the Lord led him to do amazing territorial actions when he in no way, shape, or form was fit to the task, and would not have done so on his own. Well, that's what I got this time. So, God bless Christendom, God bless the United States, God bless the United Kingdom, God bless Israel, and God bless you.